Hello, 1, 2. Wow, it's a lot brighter. It's a lot brighter without their head on it, isn't it, Gregsy? But you can't hear me because you haven't got your headphones on. I thought all studio engineers had their headphones on all the time. So we've got to be a bit close about worried about getting too close to the microphone, Gregsy, haven't we? I've already got COVID off myself.
I'm not done.
You can call this the Hiss and Pop special.
Turn it on. It's on, but I'm very low. Oh, that's a bit better. A bit echoey though.
Because you're on the wrong fucking...
Dude.
Yeah, but wouldn't that make sense? She's further away. I'm further away. Like, how's that now? Do I sound as loud as Piers Thompson? That's always the benchmark. 1, 2, testing 1, 2, 1, 2, testing 1, 2, alpha, beta.
This is the Hiss and Pop special edition. Because there's no mufflers. Because they went in a bag. And nobody...
You've lost your heart when the summer comes. Hello, fly.
One thing's for sure, Moby got soul.
PortobelloRadio.com. Tune in when you get a chance.
Yes, tune in when you get the chance, because you get the chance to listen to Portobello Radio, local radio for local people. We are coming live from a brand new exhibition here at the Muse Gallery. It's me, Piers Thompson.
Oh, and it's me, Isis.
Yes, indeed, and me, Greg Weir. Welcome aboard.
We're a bit late, but hey, who knows? Who
Look,
cares?
just before people blame me, I know I'm a Trini. It was not me. It was the white men.
That's right.
Don't know if you're allowed to get away with that, but there you go. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Welcome
We've
aboard.
got
It's
a jam-packed show.
Another
We have
jam-packed
Maxilla City in the house.
Yay!
Hopefully they
Mental.
won't take over this time, but maybe they'll take over in the summer.
Yes, looking
We've
forward
got
to that.
Monica Press, the local councillor who recently gave up. We're going to ask her how she can bear not to be in amongst the Tories of RBKC every Wednesday.
Yeah.
Or how can she not bear being in and amongst the Labour group?
Wow.
Anyway.
It goes on, doesn't it? It just goes on.
We are going to
Brilliant.
touch on politics. We have Chant. We have Dan from Chant coming in to talk to us about what they're up to.
Lovely.
And we have Andre.
Yay! Who is
Andre Maria Bukowski, who is the fabulous artist right here, right now.
You are so good with names. I love it. Absolutely love it, mate.
Anyway,
Bless
this
you.
week we were delighted because Paul Simonon's record company got him to send us his most recent track.
Oh, wow.
That's Paul from The Clash. So thank you, Paul. This
Yeah,
is
indeed.
Galen and Paul, Lonely Town.
Lovely.
This is from an album coming out in June.
Wonderful.
Like the house, we're leaving town. Wave bye-bye, the rent's sky high. No one lives here anymore. Everybody's gone. heart. When the summer comes, they'll all fly in to their holiday homes and all the new boutiques. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. When the season's done, they'll jet back home again. Oh, lonely town, you're on your own.
Yes, that is Galen and Seaman Galen and Paul Seaman on Lonely Town. Hopefully when that comes out, we'll get them on
Wasn't Galen the
show.
name of one of those apes in Planet of the Apes?
Galen is definitely out of a movie, not quite sure which one.
I think it's Planet of the Apes.
Anyway, back to the real day, the real present. We're delighted to have with us Zakia. Hi, Zakia.
Hello. Hello.
And Bashir.
Hello.
And
Greetings.
they are, as you know, from Maxilla City. Zakia, just remind folks back home very quickly what Maxilla City is.
So Maxilla City is a group of residents who are developing a multi-purpose community space by the Maxilla Gardens area. The building will be shared with Adult Social Care, who will have 1/3, and then there will be a community cafe as well.
Great. Now, as those of you who live over my way will know, there's some hoardings went up about a month ago, maybe. Really nice, quite pucker, quite shiny hoardings with little transverse kind of cutouts of what it's going to look like. Bashir, what is going on behind the hoardings?
I mean, like, first of all, to speak to the hoardings, we share everyone's frustrations in terms of, like, when you put hoardings up, it's a commitment to get things done.
Yeah.
And naturally, we're also dealing with that bureaucracy of having to wait for things on the council's timetable. But the one thing that I think that was publicly available, at least at the time, was when the councillors had their full council meeting, we've seen that money has now been officially committed, and so that we've got the green light for development to happen. And so, drainage, any like preliminary work that needs to be done in terms of drainage and asbestos removal, etc., all of those things are supposed to be done within that time period of when the hoardings were put up.
Wow.
I think, sorry, I was just going to mention as well, I think it might be worth mentioning the state or the condition of the building, because I think a lot of people are under the impression that it's a fully functioning building.
It's absolutely.
They don't realise what's going on in there.
Absolutely not. Like, it's a derelict building essentially, and unfortunately the council bulldozed through that space, and it's really incredible. Actually, we're going to put out a little film quite soon that Zach's helping us develop that. We're going to walk through the space and kind of put together a little film to talk about the journey of Maxilla and also the people that came to Maxilla before us and built Latimer City. And some of the inscriptions on the wall are still there. So it's kind of like one of those incredible renegade things that you still see when you walk around places, that like the inscriptions are there and that the memory lives on. So,
Zach, when we're all dependent on the council doing what they say they will, and building seems to take a hell of a long time anyway. But when finally everything gets moving, what are we going to see in Maxilla City? Because I know you've mentioned some of it on the hoardings, and I advise people to go down. It's quite a good read, wandering down the hoardings.
Yeah, so the hoardings do have a lot of information on them. Our website does as well. But so, like I said before, so 1/3 will be Adult Social Care. So they work with young, vulnerable people with disabilities within the borough. The the second third will be a community cafe space that we will tender out the contract to, we hope, a local vendor who can facilitate that space. And then the final third, which is Maxilla City, we will have 8 rooms to basically let out or rent out to the community. So we as Maxilla City won't be running projects within the, there's so many amazing organizations within the borough, within North Kensington, that do incredible work, but the lack of space, or the spaces they're in, aren't the best. So we want to be a place where we can help kind of nurture these organizations and help them grow to be the best potential they can be. And there's no point coming in and doing things that other people are doing. It's better for us to support them. So that's how we see ourselves within that role, within the building.
Fantastic. And how's everyone? How have you got to the ideas that you're putting into practice now? Where did they all come from?
So we've thrown kind of like multiple different events throughout the last couple of years. And so our original event was called Activating Our Spaces, where we had more than 200 local residents that came down, and we did this incredible Ideas Day with this open space facilitation where people got a flip chart, put your ideas down, and this dot democracy where people would commit a certain number of dots, all 5 or 1 dot to each idea. And from there we did a top 10, and we put a report out there that literally said, look, based on the insights from speaking to other local organizations, from speaking to residents, from events online, from events in person, these are our key priorities. And some of those include like documenting the history of North Kensington, spaces for young people, spaces for information and guidance, etc. And all of this is in our top 10 priorities. So how eventually the different organizations will fit the space will be within that criteria of need, which is tough. 8 spaces are limited. We are ourselves as an organization understand that there is you can't promise the world within those 8 rooms. And so
are we talking about giving people a permanent space, or are we talking about giving them access to space for things like workshops, meetings?
So it'll be dynamic. It'll be very dynamic. So part of our approach is to have like permanent space. So organizations need to like have assurance about we can have office space for 3 to 5 years to be able to run their programs that they're already doing. And in some part, we know that there's a demand for really like hot desking, and that's where our community cafe offer we think is really important. Part of the offer and the tender for the cafe vendor that eventually takes the space is, look, all of these subsidies are going to be put in to make sure that those savings can be directly put onto local residents, so they don't have to pay £3-4 for a coffee, so that they can find subsidized coffees or warm meals, etc. That don't cost a fortune. And it's kind of within that, really, like anyone that's local will know the space between Latimer Road and Laverick Grove is not, it's not a million miles, but especially then there's nothing in between.
Nothing much.
There's nothing in between
at all.
And there's a lot of just
bit of a
residential
desert,
spaces.
really, yeah.
It is, yeah. And we're all hyper-local people, so we know that there's a little coffee space that would cater to local people, that's on the Maxilla Gardens, on a green space. It would be nice to have something like that there.
I have to say, I had a cup of tea at the Argan Tree Cafe, which is not, bougie by any stretch of the imagination. That was £2. So. What I really liked hearing just then is that you mentioned the documenting our social history, because I remember that was a big thing that came out of Latimer City, is there was going to be a kind of archive room dedicated to it. Zakia, you of course were part of the young people, the young group that made Grove Roots. How and also as an elder, probably, nearly.
Definitely.
It's great to hear young people wanting to know that history, and it's important history. It's the first place that conflict happened, and as a result we came to our senses, and you had that whole 60s, 70s, we're all in it together stuff. How will the archive documentary, how will that thing work?
I don't want to say anything because we're not obviously sure yet, and it's a process we're still developing in terms of how we give the space out. But from a personal perspective, it would be nice to have an archive space within the borough, within North Kensington. If someone has that idea and they're able, to do it, and they need the space for it, we're always happy to hear people's ideas and stuff like that. But I think there's a lot of history here, and if it's not our space, then hopefully it can be somewhere else. But I definitely think we have such a unique area, and I know this because every time I bring my friends down or people down, they're like, "I love your area, man. It's so cool. It's so vibrant." I'm like, it's just the ends, man. It's just the ends, you know. So there is a rich history here, and it'd be great to be able to, you know, it'd be lovely to have that in our space if it could work well, if someone was able to develop that idea and have it there and what that would look like. So if anyone does have any ideas, you know, you can get in contact with us.
What about collaboration and working with other organisations? Because you mentioned the archive, of course. Ed, a good friend of yours, and people that we, you know, someone we know very well, is really pushing. I'm part of this library save campaign, the Friends of North Kensington Library. We're looking at how we can have an archive there, and of course, I was responsible for sort of initiating an archive at Kensal Library for Kelso Cochrane. So, you know, how open are you to working or having that as a space maybe where you work in collaboration with other organisations?
Yeah, just before I touch that, I just wanted to add to what Zaki was saying. So on our website, we've got an archive of that Maxilla City area. And so we're stretching back 30, 40 years, the Westway flyover, and kind of that commitment to giving local people access to that area. So we've started that documenting journey of, look, what happened preceding us and what are we doing to document our journey as part of that history? What are we doing in this space, you know, and yeah, exactly as you said, how we're documenting it. Go ahead.
But we'll come back to, I'm just going to play a record and we'll come back and ask you how people can get in touch, how they can get involved. This one is Little Sims with the song called Woman.
I'm pleased.
Niger women got the melanin dripping. L-O-N-D-O-N, city girl living in the back, looking like fire chili pepper. Yoruba girl tougher than imperial leather. He was getting bitter while she was getting better. Diamonds are forever. Miss Sierra Leone looking like a gem. Works hard in the week, party on the weekend. Know you wanna live when no one watching how you spend. Got a thing for the finer things and the finer men. Miss Tanzania, she a do or die. Says she wanna know more about the Sukuma tribe. We hit the zoo, once wasn't enough. Got an ocean full of knowledge, you could scuba dive. Miss Ethiopia can play so jazzy. They sit you down to school, you on Selassie. Tell them you're nothing without a woman, no. Woman to woman, I just wanna see you glow. Tell them what's up. Honeys, know you repping for your country. Sun kissing your brown skin, looking like money. Says she focusing on being an accountant. When you have beauty and brains, they find it astounding. Why? She been getting it on her own, nigga. Self-made, ain't nobody doing gold digger. Now, Miss India always speaks with her chest. Got respect from her people cause she leads them the best. Real life queen in the flesh. Know the crown get heavy, still the bees on your head. Brooklyn ladies, know you hustle on the daily. Innovative just like Donna Summer in the 80s. Your time is seeing you glow now. Intelligence and elegance, show them how. Miss Jamaica understand food for the soul. She get up in the kitchen, no she throw down. Ain't nothing without a woman, no. Woman to woman, I just wanna see you glow. Tell them what's up. So ahead of time, and you know that you fight. You're so damn fine, girl. She a gonna girl, calm with it, never let the marijuana fail. Though a sucker for the romance, take you to the homeland. One way, she ain't coming back, nah. All I see is black stars and I friggin' love it, yeah, yeah. Time's up, tell the people that we coming, yeah, yeah. Done being in the shadow, going public, yeah, yeah. Don't know how to bear it, how to stomach, yeah, yeah. Hand over the shit and let us run it, yeah, yeah. All we know is looking clueless, all they know is stare. Ain't nothing without a woman, no. Woman to woman, I just wanna see you glow, glow, glow.
Go from 0 to 100 and leave the dust behind.
woman to woman. I just wanna see you in action. Tell them what's up.
You know, Cindy, sometimes, I just look around and I just think of all the things we've gone through, all the great things in life, and all the horrible things that are just the other half of the great things in life. And how you don't really get greatness without sacrifice. You don't get good things without a little bit of pain. And how happiness is the substitute for the emptiness that you can sometimes feel on the other side.
Yeah, there you go.
Me.
That is Little Sims. Brilliant recording. I shouldn't have been talking over there.
You're supposed to shut up and let the woman finish the music.
Yeah, it's not the Dick O'Dell show, We talk over anything. Yeah, Little Sims, brilliant actress, brilliant singer. She should be nominated for our Slightly Pony,
for our
the
women.
Slightly Pony Portobello Radio Women's Hall of Fame.
Before you go, and Basha, you need to nominate a woman that you think should be on our top. What is it? Top 10, top 100, top 1,000?
No, it's just Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame.
It's random.
Women's Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Sorry, Basha, you was talking about collaboration.
So actually, it's very interesting that you asked that question because we're all about collaboration. We know, again, being a youth-led organisation, we know we've got so much to learn. So from the offset, before we even set out with an agenda of what we want to achieve with Maxilla, our primary focus was all about reaching out to different organizations and finding out what they do already. And it's so interesting, like there's the lack of, I think, sometimes interconnectedness between the voluntary sector of going, what's happening here, what's happening there. It's hard to know what's going on because there's so much going on. And that's part of what we did, was that early work of finding out what's going on in different spaces and how we make sure to not replicate, but rather uplift and be a part of. And one of our kind of, I think, great collaborations was actually with Portbello Radio last summer, where we literally did this really cool guerrilla-like radio show on the Maxilla Gardens, invited other people who are kind of part of that Reclaiming Spaces movement. We had Tayshan as part of our speakers. We had
Toby, Eve,
yeah. And it was just, we had Zaki as well.
Yeah.
And it was just.
And we had a live audience.
A live audience. We had a virtual audience. It was just like a really cool way of just, we do our thing where we're kind of trying to, Maxilla's our focus, but then collaborating with different organizations and different speakers and making sure that we recognize there's talent out there. People are already doing really cool work, and yeah, just reaching out and saying, look, we're here and we want to work with you just to promote a message, give a platform. And yeah, we're definitely open to more of that.
And definitely Portobello Radio is always happy to collab with local
We're
organisations.
All about collabs.
And also sharing information. It's the
particularly with young people, platform. They got more energy than us.
Let them do all the work, yes.
Yeah, let them work. We must... Sorry, that's my incipient death coming on. We must do that again.
Absolutely.
But on the subject of collabs, it's interesting around it here, isn't it? Because you've got a lot of very strong youth organisations. I'm a trustee at Youth Action Alliance. You've got the Harrow Club. You've got Kids on the Green. You've got Rugby Portobello. I hardly even know Rugby Portobello, but they're doing amazing work. Do you see
Lancaster West is open again?
Yeah.
And Venture Centre?
Yeah, and the Venture Centre, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a bit younger though, Venture, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kids.
Not
young people. But it's amazing how all those organisations, they all have their separate clienteles. They're all busy all the time. I wouldn't say the youth around here are more in need of help than in other places, but it's a really brilliant symbiotic network, isn't it, between all the young people here, the organisations that serve them. Octavia, we didn't mention, who you made Grove Roots with. Do you see Maxilla City as being a real positive impact on that whole collab?
So we actually did a Christmas project. We worked with a local primary school in the borough, and we took about 15 to 16 children on 4 days of these amazing trips, and they loved it, and it was really great. I had a fun, I was exhausted by the end, but I had a great time. And we're actually doing another Easter project with probably the same kids as well, to develop relationships. But going back to the building, you know, once that community cafe space is built, you know, we want to be able to have like events for young people there, you know, slam poetry or games nights or
film screenings,
loads of different things, or even having like, you know, potentially a supper club for children so they can come down after school and they can eat. And you know, so there's so many different ways that we can all kind of work together with children and young people. And I mean, my background is youth work, so that is something that I've kind of always done. So I've always enjoyed working with young people and children, and I'm trying to get back into it. And so doing it with Maxilla City has been amazing. And so hopefully we can develop that project, and you know, when the buildings, they bring it to the building and see how we can collab with other youth, you know, organizations. We have a massive green space right in front of us. There's going to be so many different ways we can utilize it. So the possibilities are endless.
Yes, I mean, it's such a great space, isn't it, Maxilla Gardens? Because you've got, I mean, Sophie has been out there for years doing her butterflies or hearts or kites or whatever it is she's done. Even that slightly pony thing the council organised, you know, they do a big cookout. And
oh
Kim
yeah, they did that with Bay 20 and they barbecued or something.
Yeah, it's like, you know, firemen versus National Health Service versus the council. Please say the council never wins. Big question, how do people get involved? I mean, the website, that's how you read about it.
Yeah, like we're everywhere, and when it comes to social media, we're on all different platforms, and there'll be more and more opportunities opening up the closer we get to being operational. Like loads of ways to reach out to us when we're throwing events, like be there. Another way is just get at us at social media. If you've got questions to ask, at us, message us, email us. You know, we're here on Portbello Radio now, for instance. Like, there's loads of different ways we try to make ourselves available. Naturally, I think one of those things that is kind of not really spoken about a lot is we're here for, like, with Maxilla, maybe a day a week, and it's, you know, our resources are limited naturally, and sometimes people forget that. Like, there's only so much we can do in a day or in a week. This is not something full time for us, but definitely reach out to us, and we'll get back to anyone and whoever who has a question to ask.
So what
are your social media
what's
handles?
the best one to get in touch with you?
So we have Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and it's all Maxilla City CIC. And we have an email as well.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. So it's hello@maxillacity.com. And you know, between us, you will get a reply, and we can, you know, you can contact us like that. And we're very active on our social media. So. Yeah.
And if there's one thing actually that I'd like to add is just to almost like remind people that Maxilla City itself is a hub. Ourselves as an organisation, we're not there to take any of that space. Maybe like a tiny office space to any, you know, future trustees or, you know, that need to help manage the space, or, you know, the office managers, etc. Whoever runs the space can use that for administrative purposes. But the rest of the space is only for community use. It's not for myself, Bashir. It's not for Zach. It's really just to make sure we get the right organizations in to run, you know, to offer things that they're already doing, and just to make sure that is all clear and above board, and that everyone's aware that we're here just to kind of broker that opportunity for space and give that young kind of input of to say, look, these are the sort of things that we'd be interested in seeing. But it will always be an informed decision that we're not going to make exclusively. We'll make with kind of other stakeholders as well.
And just before you go, I mean, if some elder turned up and said they wanted to be doing some, I don't know, Zumba for elders, is that part of the plan, or is it definitely youth orientated?
Do you just send them away because they're too old?
No, we love that. Like, genuinely, if you came to our Activating Our Spaces event, actually, you would have seen that one of the rooms had one of these kind of concept art pieces, and it was a Zumba class for elderly people. Like, those are the sort of things, like ideas. We want it to be dynamic. Like, that's our area. That's our history, is being dynamic. Like I said, like Zaki was saying earlier, we're not in a position now to be able to say yes or no to individuals, but it's all about information gathering. And as closer we get to that stage when we have a really defined process as to how these decisions will be made about, you know, picking said organization to manage that space, because there's loads of different things to consider: sustainability, financial sustainability. Those are realities of how do we keep the lights on in the building, you know, and then like just general cohesiveness between different organizations, making sure they fit the different criteria of need. You know, we've been through a couple of dynamic changes over the last couple of years. We've had COVID, cost of living crisis. You know, no days are the same, and so yeah, we're definitely learning all these things, and it'll be part of a process that, like, we'll publish things as we keep learning. But you know, people will hear more and more from us as the closer we get to being operational.
Brilliant. Can't wait.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank
looking
you for
forward
having
to it.
us.
Thank you for inviting us. Definitely.
Portobello Radio has fantastic Latin music. Maybe we should be doing Zumba classes down
For very old people, yes.
there. Thank you, guys. Thank
Appreciate
you, Zach.
it.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
See you out on Max of the Gardens
Definitely.
in May or something.
Definitely.
Thank you. You had a tune, I said.
I always have a tune. Why is it
We'd
not
like to
working
say our
though?
next guest, Monica Press, is in the house. We'll be talking to her shortly.
Thank you, Maxilla City.
I remember when we used to sit in a government yard in Trenchtown, over serving the hypocrites, mingle with the good people we meet, good friends we have and good friends we've lost along the way. In this great future, you can't forget your past. So dry your tears, I say. No woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. Little darling, don't shed no tears. No woman, no cry. Said I remember when we used to sit in a government yard in Trenchtown, and then Georgie will make the fire light as it was, logwood burning through the night. Then we will cook cornmeal porridge, of which I'll share with you. My feet is my only courage, though I've got to push on through. So while I'm gone, everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright now. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright now. Everything's gonna be alright. So woman, don't cry. Cry, cry. No, woman, no. No. No, woman, don't cry. Don't cry. No, woman, don't cry.
Yes.
Yes. what's happening there? Yeah, source.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was
Well,
just.
that's not going away. That music. That's
Yeah,
what I
that was
worried
just some kind of weird underscore that wasn't really supposed to be an
Yeah.
underscore. But of course, that was Tens with her version of No.
But
Woman,
of course,
No Cry.
Isis, what we need to tell the listeners is that Greg and I are obsessed with the fact that our mic heads have gone missing.
Oh,
And
they're
every
so-
moment that we're not on air, we go running off the corner trying to work out where they are.
Where did they go?
Which is very rude because we have our next guest
We
on
do.
the show, Monica Press.
Fantastic
Monica, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for coming in. Now, I mean, Monica, it's International Women's Month, and you were a councillor here, right here in Colville for
This
a long
very
time.
ward.
And you know what? I saw the Tories down on the market earlier today. I saw Catherine Fawkes. What do you feel that women during your time on the council got a fair say?
No, but that is nothing unusual. But I think
I'm
we've
amazed
also
you had to pause so long.
Well, of course, I mean, as you probably know, I worked in the Middle East and for many, many years, and in Eastern Europe. And so I came back here, although I'd lived here for 25 years, in 2010, and I became a councillor 2014. So the shock after years of working in management with foreign companies and in the Middle East where people make assumptions about women's position, women have quite a tough time regardless of parties, I think, in any political structures, and certainly in the council.
Yep.
So whether they had a voice, but we had some influence. But definitely, I think one of the last great cultures of macho-ness, which are not that friendly to women, is councils. And I'm not blaming one party or the other. It's the whole structure.
Now, is this, when you say about women's voices not being heard, is it around politics, their position? Is it that they're not taken as seriously? Or is it when it comes to women's issues particularly, that they're ignored?
It's a combination of both. I think that obviously there are political differences on the focus on women's and women-specific politics or policies. But those structures that councillors and women councillors, even if we've been in management positions for years, have to work within is, number one, there aren't enough of us. It's still, as we know nationally, about 35% of women. And I can remember when I first got to council and was on a scrutiny committee, and there was a woman chairing it, a very competent Tory councillor. There was a whole discussion, this was just 2014, and there was a whole discussion on her being called chairman, and I think I called her chair. And they said, I am not something you sit on. I'm a chairman. And I know that seems really silly and pedantic, but until we have chairwomen and until we have those concepts, it just gives a flavour to the importance of the having a minority of women trying to have those voices.
But it just
heard
shows you
there.
as well how even as women can be almost misogynistic and they can be paternalistic, and they can kind of take on all those traits of men. Because what woman would call herself a chairman? I mean, it just makes no sense whatsoever. Chair is much better, or chairperson, but chairman, you'd think that's so outdated.
Chair
Exactly.
works. Chair
Sorry?
works. Chair works.
Yeah. Well, no, according to this woman, she's not something you sit upon.
Yes, I think that's changed, but you're quite right, and I think that's something that women more of my generation, a little older, didn't give half enough attention to. And one of our problems that I think younger women and men are really approaching now is that you don't have to take on some of the worst aspects of macho-ness in order to be effective. And in fact, that's what I think should be one of our current concerns.
Well, as you know, the theme for this year's International Women's Day, as they call it, or International Women's Month, or International Women's History Month, is embracing equity. How does that feel? I mean, how does that fit with you and the work that you've been doing?
It's absolutely needed. I'd just make one point about women's months and women's days, which are incredibly important, I know. When I first went overseas, England hadn't even started on that kind of thing. You know, I think came in the late 80s, didn't it? But just a funny story, when I was talking about equity, when I was working in Eastern Europe and in Bulgaria, you know, that was when I first came across whole holidays for women, and women's days were really special in Eastern Europe and Soviet Union for very good reasons. So everybody had the day off. All the men brought the women roses and took them out for meals, and we had fantastic big office meals and did lots of things.
It's not even happening now.
No,
over here.
Socialist country. But the next morning, when we'd all had enough, the Bulgarians make a wonderful homemade apple and plum brandies. But the next morning, it's the women getting up early, clearing up the stuff, and the office being put to pieces. So I think we have to be really careful about that whole thing with any group of celebrating one day or one month.
Well, I mean, with Black History Month, we say it's 365 days.
So it should
and
be.
we say the same with women. I mean, 365 days a year.
We have the same with Black History Month every year, don't we? Some years we go all in, and then other years we try and ignore it on the grounds that we think we do Black History the whole time. I like what you were saying about Eastern Europe, though, because there's something about International Women's Day that is a little bit patronising. But the idea of just a day that celebrates women, I mean, the Irish, who we work with a lot, of course, now St. Bridget is becoming a much bigger saint. She's almost getting up there alongside St. Patrick. And St. Bridget is, whatever your views about religion are, St. Bridget is a celebration of women, a woman, without having that, oh, girls, you can have one day out of 365.
You're right, but when ISIS mentions it being equity, one of the things when I was first active in women's movements in the late 60s, early 70s, our focus then was very much on equal pay, equal opportunities and equity. And I think it needs to be looked at in 2023. So it's not a bad thing, because a lot of us, and I think a lot of women, feel that perhaps that's done, and now we start focusing on other issues. And there are, of course, incredible amount of issues in this current crisis. But what I've noticed is that, again, as a counsellor and as a local activist, there are sort of rules and guidelines about equity, just as numbers, let alone pay or access to work or conditions. And I've noticed they are often not there. You suddenly see there is all the officers are men. And because we sort of feel that's done and dusted, we're looking at other things and we're forgetting the basics. So sadly, we've always got to keep raising and focusing on equity, because you've got to have 50% women if you're going to reflect any voice.
So we're going to play a track now? Because I want to come back and ask you a similar thing about because when I was a kid or a young person in the late 60s and the early 70s, we spoke of women's liberation. And now we almost speak as though we're already liberated, but I don't think that we're there. So I wanted to bring that up. But perhaps we play a track first.
A tune. What are we going to play? Is this a song celebrating women?
It's just a song by a very powerful woman about women. There we go. You'll all know it.
She's got her ticket. I think she gonna use it. I think she going to fly away. No one should try and stop her, persuade her with their power. She says that her mind is made. She's got her ticket. I think she gonna use it. I think she going to fly away. No one should try and stop her, persuade her with their power. She says that her mind is made. Why not leave? Why not go away? much hatred, corruption and greed. Give you life and invariably they leave you with nothing. Young girl ain't got no chances, no roots to keep her strong. She shed all pretenses that someday she'll belong. Some folks call her a runaway, a failure in the race. She knows where her ticket takes her, she will find a place in the sun. Why not leave? Why not go away? Hey, too much hatred, corruption and greed. Give your life and invariably they leave you with nothing. She's got her ticket, I think she gonna use it. I think she going to fly away. No one should try and stop her, persuade her with their power. She says that her mind is made, and she'll fly, 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 fly. Yeah, she gonna fly away. Oh, she got a ticket. Oh, she got a ticket. No, she gonna fly away. Oh, she gonna fly away. Yeah, she gonna fly, 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 fly. Oh, she gonna fly, 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 fly. Yeah, she gonna.
Yeah, you're listening to Portobello Radio. It's International Women's Month, and
Yes,
we
it
are here
is.
with Monica Press.
And of course, that was Tracy Chapman
That was
with
Tracy
the
Chapman
She's Got Her
in-
Ticket.
Indeed.
A very empowered woman.
A moment ago we were talking about Black History Month, and while the record was on, we just talked about a little bit about there are women's histories in terms of.
Well, before we do that, Piers,
Okay.
we want to go back to this point about liberation, because we often
Sure.
talk, because Monica's been around and remembers, you know, the 80s and the 70s and that movement. I'm just wondering what we can take away from that, because often, you know, when you read what's going on with women, we're like, are we even liberated? There are women literally still almost enslaved in houses, doing all the work, looking after the children and holding down a job. So did we get some kind of equality that actually didn't benefit us, but we're still not liberated? I don't know. I wonder how you'd put that, Monica.
Am I still on mic? Was very overused, but you're quite right. I think we've been actually given the freedom to join the wage slave market and to also be mothers and looking after houses in the main. And I think that was what I remember very much about the 60s and 70s. It has to happen. It has to, but you can't liberate one group without liberating all. And so I think
It's like
many of us,
internationalism, basically, in a way.
exactly. So many of us went into mainstream politics, but I think what was very different about the women's movement in the 70s and 80s and young women now is that it was quite well-off professional women. It was dominated by white, very well-educated women, and as we saw in America and other places, it didn't really, it didn't mean to be exclusive, but it didn't really look at the impact of being a poor woman or being a woman of ethnicity, and it didn't look at race, and it didn't really look at class.
Didn't at all.
It did achieve quite a few things in consciousness, but I think we're still struggling with that now, and maybe talking about now is, I think there's some very positive things now, but we mustn't think that whatever happened in the past, and you know, the focus from the media and from others was very much on free sex,
which benefited men probably more than anyone else.
A great old lifestyle, and that actually just, a lot of women had quite a few mental health problems around all that kind of interpretation. So I think that we've come back slightly there, but we mustn't forget what we actually were fighting for at that beginning.
So it's about reframing, and also reframing it from a woman's perspective, because I think a lot of it's like that dismantling the master's house with the master's tools, almost, isn't it? If you as a woman then look at a male constructed kind of notion of equality or freedom, actually often it isn't actually in the best interest of women.
Exactly, but I think we've also got to see that larger picture. One of the things I absolutely love as somebody who's getting older, but about politics and about trying to look for change in a number of directions, is working with very young, very aware, very knowledgeable young people, men and women,
don't we?
Yeah, which it's very dangerous if you get locked into your generation. I think for politics, for awareness, for all the new things, and the younger people I'm now working with locally are so aware and much more aware of, let's say, issues around cohabitation, where the woman isn't the one that gets the double jobs, but there's a real kind of contract and there's a pride. They're so much more aware of women's rights. I don't think we approached it that way. We were looking for some of the privileges that men already had, and now we're looking for rights.
How's different? How's that telling? I mean, all I read in the papers is that all young men are devout followers of Andrew Tate. And
please, let's not talk about him. He's
well,
an idiot.
no, but you've got to take this seriously insofar as
basically what you're talking about is this new model misogyny.
A lot of young people are taking. I mean, I don't know. There's that period when you're a young man of 15 to about 18. It's terribly difficult. You have to learn to shave and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we have periods and we have to pay for our sanitary towels.
I agree
much
that
worse.
There's a hell of a lot of pressure today put on young men, and one of the things we always should be doing is working with young men as well as young women.
Definitely.
This is not exclusive in any way, but I think you're right. I think what's happening, I mean, for me, post 2010 and austerity has, really put women back years, but it's also put a number of groups back, and I think young men as being very vulnerable to these kind of changes of the culture. We're becoming more macho, more right-wing. That is something where we shouldn't be looking at things too exclusively. Women have a whole set of things that we still need to achieve. But I think young people, young men, young women are being sort of used by the media. So let's take violence against women and young girls. That's a massive issue, which I was, of course, aware of in the 60s, 70s we were. I never felt probably as much, perhaps, fear, but then there was probably misplaced trust in the police at that time. But the other big change here now, which I think we ought to talk about a bit, is, let's say, as women now are alone late at night going somewhere, it's not just the lack of police, and this does come back to young men as well. But if you remember or even in the 80s, you had platform attendants on the underground. Every ticket station was open. You had bus conductors. There were safe spaces. And that applies for men as well as women. And for young men are very vulnerable to that.
Parkies. Do you remember park keepers?
Yes, exactly.
But children as well.
So that whole thing has made that issue about women's right to walk at night and really put us on the back foot. And that comes down to a much wider issue than women's liberation.
Yeah, I think really it's more social issues.
Having public services that work.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, the police thing, I mean, obviously as a woman of African heritage, we just don't trust the police. We've always seen them as a kind of the enemy, generally speaking. And so when all of this has come out now about the violence of the police against women, not just against, obviously, minoritized or racialized communities, it's like, oh, well, there you go. We kind of knew that. But what that means is there's less safe spaces now. because a lot of women, if they did feel safe to go to the police, they won't now. So we've got even more issues. And
exactly. So there's negatives there, and I suppose the last negative is whenever you have an economy in crisis and people are poorer and people are worried about their job and they're insecure, domestic violence rises. So that's
there was a huge rise during the lockdown. Apparently, it was absolutely ridiculous.
And look at the insecurity that both sides of relationships.
Yeah.
So not to end on a kind of negative note, but for me, that's why, yes, it's great that we are now having a month and a time to remind ourselves, but we've achieved some things, but in a sense, we must never think that one of those things will always stay, one of those achievements like equal pay, because it isn't there, and equal opportunities isn't there. But what we do have, I think, is so many people now fighting across, whether you're man, woman, for public services which will help women.
No, absolutely, yeah.
The Equal Pay Act came in 1970, and we're still talking about equal pay. So it's not even about legislation, it's about cultural change.
Yes.
Well, the thing is, they didn't put anything in about washing up, did they?
Well, the thing that's never mentioned about, let's say, the RMT strikes is that they're about keeping people on platforms. They're not just about getting more salary, they're about safety as well.
Yeah, well, sadly, when we have such a biased press, we don't get the real reporting.
You're talking about me? Or
Monica, thank you so much for coming on. Before you go, what are you doing now? Because you've been out of the council for what, 8 months?
I stood down in May. I always said I would do 8 years. It's not a healthy lifestyle, particularly for women, because all your business is done in the pub or things like that. I've been elected chair of the Kensington Labour Party, and so my job is to assist with us getting Joe Powell as our next Labour MP next year. And we're all geared up for that. We've got I'm supported by everybody's between their 20s and 30s, so it's absolutely great. It's taken 20 years off my life.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm doing at the moment, and pushing things like, as you know, we now have free school meals for all children in primary schools from Sadiq Khan from September.
Fantastic.
And if that won't help women, what will? Because at the moment, the choices between eating and heating, we all know.
But also as women, I don't think people realise how often, I've been in that situation when I was divorced and, in temporary situation and working out, right, okay, so, I've got the children 4 days of the 7 days of the week. My ex-husband's got them the other days, making sure that all the food is ready and everything is prepared for them. And then the days that they're not eating, those sorts of things. And I think women do this all the time.
Yeah.
And we don't realise how that impacts.
Absolutely. So knowing your child had a good lunch, I think is an amazing move. So that's why I'm feeling so positive, because
that's a hell of a
can be
start.
done, and without raising council tax, which they've also done in Westminster now, that it's free school meals.
Fantastic. I didn't think I'd ever say this. Well done, Sadiq.
Well, I say that all the time now then, Piers. But thank you for having me. And
thank you for coming on, Monica.
Yes, thank you. Always good to have you, Monica.
Absolutely. All power to you, Monica.
And thanks for your work for the people of Colville.
I thought I'd like retirement, but it was awful, so it's great to be back.
So here you are.
I bet everyone still comes up to you and complains about everything as well.
Yes, they do, and it makes me really feel good, because no, it was a real privilege.
Give Toby Benton a shout.
Here in Colville, really, and it's sort of such a fantastic community right over North Kensington.
No, absolutely.
And also, you live in that community, which again is a fantastic thing, because I think it's so important when you have councillors living in the area that they're councillors for.
Yeah, it just takes me an hour to go and get half a pint of
I
milk,
can
which I
imagine.
need to do now, actually.
Power Square, the heart of the counterculture in the UK, right in the heart of Colville. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Should we put another track on?
Yeah,
yes,
go
please.
on. What have we got? Ooh. Praise be. Dan Morell, Future Forest, is in the house. Our next guest.
Celebrate you, baby. I have to praise you like I should. You're so rare. so fine. I'm so glad you're mine. You're so rare, so fine. I'm so glad you're mine. You make me glad I'm a woman, 'cause you're a feeling, thinking man. And anytime I know you're needing, I'm gonna please you every way I can. You're so rare, you're so fine. I'm so glad you're mine. You're so rare and so fine. You clear the questions from my mind. I was afraid to say I love you, afraid to take and too eager to give. You help me deal with what I'm feeling, with why and how I want to live. You're so rare, man, you're so fine. You know, I'm so glad you're mine. You're so very rare and so fine. I'm sure not glad you're mine. I have to praise you when you hold me, when you work your way around. Ain't a part of me left over that your sweet love ain't found. You make my moan turn to whisper. You make my whisper turn to call. You make me scream and scream that I love you. When you make me rise and fall. You're so rare and you're so fine. And I'm so very, very, very glad you're mine. You're so rare, so fine. Oh, you're mine, you're mine. You know I want the best for you, baby. And what you want, I want for you. And we can work together, baby, to see it all come true. 'Cause you're so rare and you're so fine. And Lord knows I'm so very glad you're mine. You're so rare, and you're so very, very fine. Oh, you cleared all the questions from my mind. We come a long, long way together, baby. Through the hard times and all the good. I'm gonna take this day to celebrate you, baby. 'Cause I have to stop and praise you like I should. You're so rare, take your praise, and you're so fine. And I hope you know I'm glad you're mine. Take your praise, you're so rare. Take your praise, you're so fine. Take your praise.
Yeah, that of course is Fatboy Slim.
No, it's not.
Isn't it?
No, it's not. Oh, no, sir. It's Camille Yalesborough.
Oh, it's the original.
Yeah, it's the original Take Your Praise.
I
That
do-
Fatboy Slim pirated or sampled or whatever you want to call it.
No, do you know what? If you
I
actually
think
want to know,
she liked him, though, apparently. She
no,
gave him
I think you'll find this is the one where he gave her literally shed loads of money and she slags him off the whole time.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
yes, you did tell me something about this,
Yeah.
didn't you?
Yeah. No, she's less. She's delighted to have the cash in the bank, but still somehow appalled by the record.
She didn't want. Well, maybe she just didn't like it. What can you
Talking
say?
about being appalled. Well, quickly on the Wagwan front, we know that tonight at Love is Rap Attack. It's Funky Frankie's birthday, and they've been making a huge palaver about it. So I think you can expect a fantastic night down there at the Love Bar. Next week is Paddy's Day, and at Maxilla there will be the 40th something disco. they've sold tickets in advance, and it's now completely sold out. So I don't know how that's going to work for anyone who wants to go down there, but it's looking busy down there at the Maxilla. And I heard some terrible news about the Maxilla today.
As did I.
Because
yeah.
Joe stopped me and told me that someone has suddenly moved in
to the Muse behind
on a rental contract to
one of those busybodies in the
Scamps and Muse, an American, possibly called Joe, and he has been ringing up in a really coordinated fashion, trying to close down the Pan Band and the two Samba bands who practice at the Maxilla.
What is
the
it?
Samba
Well,
band.
basically,
What is it about people that move in
Can we
round
send
here?
them a message? Can you move out, please, Joe? We don't want you
Yeah.
here. If that's your attitude, do not live here. We don't want you.
Cool.
You're not welcome.
I'm sort of verging on
disgusting.
making a racist comment, but it seems a lot of the Americans, so the United States
American
population,
is not a race.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Who moved
A
in round
nationalist
here
comment.
and are now left round here after Brexit, are really the wrong end of the United States population.
Yes, go back to the
You know.
States. Go back to your right-wing state, wherever you come from.
No, I'm
Yeah,
sure
you
they all
can't.
come from New York, and they're
But
just
you can't
they all
move
things-
into an area and then start moaning about the pub that you've moved in next door to.
Well, you know what might
You
have to
know.
happen? A lot of people might have to start complaining about this awful person in the Muse. Maybe complaints against him, or we'll have
Yeah.
him moved out
Yeah.
or shut down.
Oh,
Completely
so
nefarious.
annoying.
I know.
So annoying.
Well, no, people need to know that's
Do
not
know
how you
what?
behave.
There's something in what you suggest. There is something in what you suggest. In other news, there's a new show here at the Muse. It's called An Alternate Life, and it's by Andrei Maria Borkowski, and we are going to be talking to Andrei in a moment. We've got Dan Morell from Chant. You'll have enjoyed Chant at Portobello Live at Glastonbury, and we are going to chat to him in a minute. I had something else on the Wagwan. Have you guys got a Wagwan we should be telling the folks back home about?
Well, I mean, the Wagwan for Tuesday, we are continuing our sessions, myself and the lovely Ilaria, with the, it's part of the Volunteer Centres programme, and we're doing our words on our clothes between 6 and 8 p.m. at the Methodist Church. It's free to come along. It's for women and girls. It's an opportunity for you to upcycle, embellish, zhuzh up, add some writing to your clothing. And I'm going to be doing some poetry and affirmation writing with the women. So you can leave with a completely new garment or a completely embellished garment, and with something that's very personal to yourself, empowering words, affirmations written into it. So do come along and join us. Tuesdays 6 till 8 at the Methodist Church.
Great, and as ever, the Acklam Village will be open all weekend with bands on both days. New variants, JP Sampson and the Delilahs and Matteo Palmieri. All right. We better play another tune, as no one else seems to have anything to say about what's going on. You usually have something that's going on, Gregsy.
Yeah, I always do. Sorry, I've been busy getting Dan sorted because you asked me to.
All right, fair enough. Another tune?
Yes, of course. Let's go with this one.
Can't ball in a life, man. Go on with it, but go on with it.
Yo, is it? Are you kidding me?
To us, yeah. So we are coming in with a force, yeah. Blessings we are reap and we coursing on full. Oh, we not rise and boast. Yeah, we give thanks like we need it the most. We have to give thanks like we really supposed to be thankful. Blessings all for my life and my thank God for the journey, the earnings are just for the plus. Yeah, and gratitude is a must. Yeah, me see blessings fall by my right hand. But I toast for the friends we take off every load. One time did sit down in a class and we bored. Then only said the road and me go on with the road. Third form, me say me try a thing. And you know it formed up to be a fire thing. Now up on stage with chronics I sing. Yeah, see me all diggy soon get the higher ring. Like hello brother, him say I had to shot ya. Saw your poster, spectacular photo. Keep it burning, yes that's the motto. pass through your soul to can't ball in a life, man. Me have to thank God for the journey, the earnings are just for the plus. Yeah, and gratitude is a must. Yeah, me see blessings fall by my right hand. But I toast to the friends we take off every load. One time they sit down in a class and we board, then only said the road and me go on with it, go on with it. Just show our blessings upon me and send me to tell you my story. Just show our blessings upon me. That's how I made to give him the glory. I'm delighted. Jah knows say my passion ignited. Got the music get me excited. I'm coming like a potion. Blessings all for my life and my thank God for the journey. The earnings are just for the plus. Yeah, and gratitude is a must. Yeah, me see blessings fall by my right hand. But I toast for the friends we take off every load. One time did sit down in a class and we board. Then only said the road and me go on with the road. Toast, yeah, yeah. Toast. Oh, we not rise and boast. Yeah, we give thanks. We have to give thanks like we really supposed to be thankful. Blessings all for my life and my thank God for the journey. The earnings are just for the plus. Yeah, and gratitude is a must. Yeah, me see blessings fall by my right hand. But I toast for the friends we take off every load. One time did sit down in a class and we board. Then only said the road and me go on with the road. Toast, yeah,
Yes, Toast, classic by Coffee.
There you
Can't
go.
go wrong with that. She's
There
a
you
powerful
go.
young woman.
There you go. We're delighted to welcome to the studio once again Dan Morell. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you, Piers?
Really well. Now, people might know you. I think last time you were on, we actually talked about future forests and the fact that you coined the expression carbon neutral.
I co-coined it.
Co-coined it. It's like co-creating. Since then, you've moved on to a performance art collective.
That's right.
Called
Chant Live.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about that.
Well, Chant Live is, as you say, it's a collective, and this is we believe the future. It's a space punk band, and everybody can have a go. So we collaborate with lots of artists, and we collaborate with the audience. So what we do, and we always silver spacesuits. What we do is we put microphones into the audience, and then we loop them live, and they can have a say. And we turn the audience into an instrument, so it's completely participatory.
Yeah. In fact, we collaborated on this once at Portobello Live, didn't we? And it's quite an extraordinary thing because was it Carnival?
Carnival, we did it at Portobello Live, yeah.
So what happens is you have all these loops that essentially youth. Martin Glover has made most of them, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. He's made us 49 tracks, prolific youth, in 7 different genres. So we've got 7 dub tracks, and 7 deep house, and 7 kraut rock, industrial, ambient,
and then you're on stage with an iPad, manipulating those loops.
That's right.
I mean, and even it's not rocket science. Even I have manipulated the loops on stage. It's been great for the 10 minutes I got up there. And then you've got mics in the audience which are sending back vocals.
Live vocals that we clean up and put effects on, and then we loop it in. And what we're doing with youth's loops as well, that we're producing them live, so the music that we're arranging with the audience has never been heard before, and it will never be heard again in that format. So we're making live loops with live mixes.
Unique one-off experiences.
Exactly, and we've been doing it for 7 years, and it's the underground band. We've never released any of our music. And we've been gigging at Stonehenge in the circle, the stone circle inside. We've played in Wookiee Hole caves. Also, when we perform, we create land art. So we do graffiti on buildings, land meteorites. We make crop circles. So weird shit happens when we gig, and it celebrates the event.
No, I've seen you at Glastonbury. I've seen you up on stage at Gaz's. But you are about to start releasing music.
We've got the first tracks, yeah. We've got a first album, which is ready. It's a dub album, The Relics of Tree Worship, and we're going to hear a track from that now. And that's Don Letts and Gaudi have taken Youth's originals and then remixed it. Done an amazing job, they have. And then Youth has remixed again, and so we're getting it into perfection.
Portobello itself.
Oh yeah. And we've got 9 tracks. Planet Man's done a track. It's more like a concept album from the 1970s. And Jamie Reid is doing the artwork for the front cover.
Because Jamie Reid did Never Mind the Bollocks, and you can see his work at Beyond the Streets down there at the Saatchi.
As a space punk band, this would be appropriate for us.
I mean, you haven't done it in Powis Square yet, but did Motorhead, or did Hawkwind not all have silver suits on when they did Silver Machine?
I don't think they had silver suits on, but they had Lemmy had a lovely handlebar moustache.
Yeah. Greg, are we ready to roll with that?
The first track was called Water. Yeah. This is Willow, the tree Willow.
Yeah. And when this track finishes, we'll talk about how this also connects
to the app.
but also back to your original interest in the environment. And each of these has a environmental theme as well as a musical theme.
That's right. We're singing Trees to Life, and I'll talk about how we do that in due course. Here we go.
Freedom in the forest of liberty. Freedom living amongst the trees. Freedom in the forest of your dreams. Freedom, freedom to dream.
Don't forget brandy for Major Charlie.
Yes, Excellency.
Joseph, remember the last Christmas in Seth?
Yes.
Рождеством Христовым.
Спасибо.
When everything was taken away, except my life. When everything. Was taken away, except my life. I learned that the way to be really is to serve others, to be needed. So don't be sorry. Come, get here. And nothing will be ready.
Forest of liberty. Freedom.
Freedom in the forest of, what was that, liberty? The forest of your dreams.
Forestry of your dreams.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. Very hippie, but beautiful. What a tune and what a brilliant bass.
Thank you.
Wow.
That's youth.
That was youth actually playing the bass, was it?
Playing bass, yeah.
Amazing, because it's a beautiful sound. He's got a beautiful bass. Whatever machine he's using, it's just gorgeous. Absolutely
I think
gorgeous.
he's got more than one, to be honest.
Yeah, on that occasion, Fender Precision or something like that. It's just got a
Just
gorgeously
amongst
rounded
that
tone.
is taken from what?
The album is forthcoming. It's called The Relics of Tree Wisdom. So it's a nine-track album, and each track is associated with a tree and a cause. Sequoia and oak and
that was willow, right?
That was willow.
Yeah,
willow
the
Amazing.
weeping willow.
Yeah.
Well, one of the most
Weeping
spiritual
for-
plants. We love willow. Brilliant.
Willow,
and of course, how you make a cricket bat.
True.
That's the most important thing
yeah.
about the willow.
well, I lived in a willow tree for 3 years.
I wonder what that was all about.
I came down at night though. Went home, but I went up there every day.
You were mentioning something about singing trees back to life. What's
Yeah.
that
So
all
what
about?
this is all? So Chant Live, we do it analog with the audience, and that's really taken off. But the idea was also to have an app where people could load their voice into one of our shows before the show, and then they get a track back that they're mixed in afterwards.
isn't that
and
good?
and when they start paying for it, we turn them into, we plant trees, so they're singing trees to life.
Oh, amazing.
And lots of people trying to make the real world digital. So we thought, as a situationist artwork, we make the digital world real.
Yeah, I love this. It's brilliant, genius idea. Have you had much feedback on that particular idea?
We first got it going at Glastonbury last year.
Oh, mental!
And we got a lot of people put their voices in, and they got their track back, and we planted a lovely forest just outside Bristol.
Oh my dear, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. What a
Situationist
genius!
forest.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
So, how can people get involved in chant? Can they get onto the app? Could I right now send my voice to you?
We've got called Flutter, which is a very basic program. We've got the test program available at chant.live on our website.
Don't you call it beta? Is that what we
It's
call
a
it?
beta, yeah. We're working on the alpha, which we've written in Unity, which is an amazing gaming program.
Right.
So that's coming out. People can get involved by just coming to our shows, getting involved with us as an underground movement. The first album comes out, Relics, which is
brilliant,
done, followed by an industrial album that's ready, which we've done with Nina Walsh and Nick Scott. And then we've got a Beats Dance album coming out, which we've done with Martin Ware. Which is
brilliant.
Yeah, it's all done. Followed by a Krautrock album. So we've got 4 albums ready.
Krautrock, where's the influences there? I mean, what got you into Kraut? I know, but no. What got Dan specifically into it?
I love Kraut. I mean, listen, my first thing, I love Noi.
Noi
and Can are iconic, and then Kraftwerk, of course, and it's real. I mean, one of the things with music these days, and unfortunately, musicians and artists, they go for breadth instead of depth. Because you're forced into social media and you're just creating stuff in order for fans to get involved with.
Yeah.
And so what we've done is we've taken a long time to go into as deep as we can to create real art. And we're doing it for people. And so doing a load of things well rather than splattering out lots of it, we think could be a new way forward. And we also believe that a community of artists, so Guy Pratt's involved, and Jack Jones has done some work with us, and
cool, yeah.
We do a lot of work with other musicians who do remixes, and that philosophy also works with the audience, who also put their voice in, so they become integral parts of the show.
Yeah.
And then it becomes more real and more genuine as an artwork, and it's very punk in what we do.
Yeah, sounds bro, absolutely bro, great and super creative.
Where can people see you next?
Well, I'm doing a little thing on the 31st, an art show in East London, which I'll send you the details of. And then we're doing, we've got a gig at Secret Garden Party. And of course, we'll be at Glastonbury, as usual. We're keeping it pretty tight at the moment. We play a lot. We just did a gig in Bruton at the Prickly Pear, which was just, the whole place went mad.
Excellent.
And we'll be doing a few bars in near lovely Somerset, where I live.
Yeah.
Super.
Notting Hill on Sea.
Yeah, you know that.
Yes, it is.
I don't live there, I live near it.
Dan, thank you so much for coming by. We
Lovely
love
to see
having
you
you
both.
every time. We would
Brilliant,
love
yes.
to
Love to
host
see
you
Yeah.
in the summer at some point at one
Sure,
of our weird
sure.
little events, what we might be having.
I would love to play you some of our kraut rock and deep house later on another time, yeah.
Well, should we just have a couple of minutes of
Try
something?
Plagiarist.
Plagiarist.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I have got that. Yeah.
Yeah, try this one.
With voices, keyboards.
It's got voices and keyboards.
Amazing.
Oh, it's got voices from 118 different countries linked in.
No
They're
way.
collected voices.
Oh, there you go.
This is a climate change crack, by the way, everybody.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. Brilliant. Let's have a quick listen.
Take it away.
Quick
Thank
listen.
you, Dan.
Thank you.
Woo! Chant live.
Oh, bless you. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Dan.
Hi there.
Everyone's looking right behind the smiling eyes. One can put a mask and hide the truth behind, cause we're blind. Yeah, we blind, falling down and down, but what do we hope to find? There is nothing more inside, or maybe we just
Time now for local weather. I am not amused.
Oopsie.
Fetch me their souls.
the secrets of our mind, surrounded by them too many lines that no one knows anymore. We are the ones we cannot cross, so we're just staying in my spot. Thinking with the boss, yet we're not, we're just
Time now for local weather. I am not amused.
Oopsie.
Fetch me their souls.
Everyone's looking right behind the smiling eyes. Everyone can put a mask and hide the truth behind, cause we're blind, yeah we blind, falling down and down. But what do we hope to find? There is nothing more inside, or maybe we just lost the key to the secrets of our mind. Surrounded by them too many lines that no one knows anymore. Which are the ones we cannot cross, so we're just staying in our spot. Thinking with the boss, yet we're not, we're just another dog on this island. We get lost. Why? Lost, we all are trying to make it so hard to pay attention. We just busy with our lives, convinced we're so special, everybody thinks the same. There's no one like me, so we wake up every day and that's what we believe. So damn naive, so damn naive. Instead of trying to understand, we ride a blind, we pretend that everything we
Amazing. What a tune!
What a tune! That is
What
fantastic.
a tune.
Lovely bit of crowd rock.
Isn't
And
it?
that rap was apparently by Dan's landlady.
I love that. It was a brilliant rap as well. She
Very
didn't stop.
difficult to follow that.
Yeah, isn't it?
I must say.
But you're going to have to, Andre.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but with my silent art, I could really just leave it to 15 minutes of silence.
Picture paints 1,000 words. Andre Maria Bukowski, you
That's
are
one.
doing the show right here, an alternate life at the
And your
Muse.
opening night was last night?
Yes, that's sort of quite.
How was it?
It was surprisingly successful. I'm saying it was fantastic to collaborate with Gosha and the gallery. Well, I'm saying it's unusual for me to somebody calling me and say, "Well, Andre, we'd like to give you an exhibition." I said, "Oh,
Wow.
well, what?" And and they saying, we want an exhibition based on your sketchbooks. And I said, "Sorry, but I'm not selling them. I don't want to." They say, "No, don't worry. We will do everything." So, and the moment when you decide, you always want to do what you want to do,
Mhm.
and suddenly I said, "No, it's maybe end of it. Just I trust them to do it." So they say, "Oh, we will do everything." So literally, I'm now moved from. I used to be in that area years ago, 70s, 80s, etc. Literally in Portobello, but now in Bath.
We're going to ask you about that later, because
yeah,
you were involved in some of the great things around here back in the day.
So old now, so I don't remember what was that.
We're elders. We're elders.
You're in
Oh,
good
definitely.
company, don't worry.
Of course, I'm really old.
What looking around, what you have here is you're now involved in printmaking.
Yes,
and it's fantastic stuff. It's kind of stark and it's bare, but it's also full and colourful. It has a slight political vibe to me. Is that
the red and the black?
Is that because I put politics in everything, or is
No, it's the colours. It's the red and the black.
Probably you do, but at the same time, it is a little bit that mixture of love and aggression. That kind of fear, and it's so much really about man-woman relation, love. Really, it's so much love, complicated love of all our artists. But it is about fascination, that one, fear and excitement, and that kind of thing. Hence, probably read. Not to mention that as it happened, those books I'm showing here, it's just purely accident. Years ago, I was just in the shop and I found, oh my God, what's that? Sort of sketchbook, cheap paper, but red inside, completely plain, cost £1. So I bought, I think, 8 or 10 of them. That's how much I could afford them.
Yeah.
And
they've come into their own.
And the red is just really working for me. That's my colour, definitely.
I love that thing, man. There aren't really those weird old shops anymore that you walk in and it's, oh my God, this stock needs to be bought.
Yeah. I mean,
now.
literally, somebody, a friend of mine from New Zealand who I told you probably you will not come for opening, but would love to see you. And she was really, nice words about the prince, but she was mostly interested, where do you got those sketchbooks? Naturally, not surprised.
So, tell us about your work. The books evolve organically. It's not a logical linear story.
Which is a bit of sort of like chopped, because it's an alternative life of what? I mean, what we're talking about. It is. Originally, I thought this is an alternative life of my prints. What I'm saying when I do screen printing, usually just normal screen print, you have some ideas, so you print that properly in nice paper, sometimes good paper, etc., etc. But then they're kind of like quite official, slightly up. And then I had those sketchbook next to me, and I already had on my screen image. I said, well, why don't I put in that sketchbook, just put something here, on that one, on another one. Forget it, doesn't matter. Sometimes next printing, do something. Oh, well, I do it again on the top of it or next to it. And this way they became kind of like catalog of my ideas, things, and they start to have an alternative life, much more free, much more less focus on one image, much more interaction. In a way, you could say that maybe even now they're slightly more separate, because in a book you also have a sequencing. Somebody was talking yesterday about, we actually could do a video from it, but anyway.
I remember like the days when you used to make those books and you'd flick through them and you get animation.
That would be fun. I mean, I really, really appreciate that I was given that chance to do it, because it's also, I'm old, which means that I had that years ago, a little bit prejudice against digital prints.
The newfangled stuff.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Like all my friends, even all the say, no, gicle or digital print. Actually, that's very thing. So in a way, I begin from etching and already felt that etching is very nice, but slightly too posh. So I said screen printing will be better. So I made myself that decision, but still not so far as going to digital print. And this time, Gosha and Gallery, they suggest that because I don't want to sell the books, why don't we do digital prints? And so
they trapped you in the digital world.
Absolutely. No, I really think. Not to mention that another thing is just the price. You could really make it affordable, and that was always the essential thing. I think it was so nice to think about when you hear about, I don't know, Hokusai selling his fantastic woodcut for the bowl of rice. You know that on our 18th century English prints when you can really buy cheaply them, and now suddenly you just. Oh no, this is art. You know that costs
I want to spend £2 million.
You know all that stuff. So that would be so much nicer to have a lot of things. You know, people enjoying and gone. Another thing you're doing that's more healthy, I think.
Are the books still going? Are you still?
Well, I'm now. This is another thing that exhibition giving me potential chance. Why? I was for that. Over 40 years now in England. I moved from Poland and I was invited to join the theatre, well, that's the thing. But, and I was really nearly 40 years doing screen printing. And in London, I had the facilities, I have a studio, a place, and it was really, that was all working.
Was it standard, like T-shirts and books and all of things? What sort of screen printing was it?
There was complicated thing because obviously originally I was just invited as an actor. That's the last thing I could do. I mean, my uncle said, Andrzej, you could be everybody. One thing you can't do, you just speak so quickly, you swallow, nobody understands you. And I never want to be an actor, but this happened. It doesn't matter. Obviously, love is behind that. It was just sitting to do. I was waiting for set design. And next to me was a lady, and I was quite young, and she was rather attractive. And I said, "What are you waiting for?" And she said, "Oh, going to mime theater." I said, "What's mime?" "Oh, that kind of theater you not talk, you don't use word, just body." I said, well, my uncle was talking about me swallowing, so I swapped the bench and joined the mime group. That was the beginning, and that one profession which I couldn't do, suddenly I was into. And then in the 70s, there's some British director dead now, remember Rambaloo, that was the bow thing. He came to Poland looking for this physical body actors in Poland, famous in those days. And I was performing there, and in that kind of theatre, it evolved towards more performance. And suddenly, he had a choice of all bloody Polish actors. He chose me, and it was just unbelievable. To the point that when somebody said, "Andrzej, there's that British bloke, I'm just looking contact with you." No, I'm busy because I thought I usually was helping to translate from Polish to English. Oh, another bloke, I will need to translate. No, thank you. I went to Warsaw, that was another town. Went to Warsaw. 3 days later, they call him, "Andrzej, that bloke is still in Warsaw now for you." I said, "What's going on?" "Oh, I don't know, but he says that he offered you a job in working in his theatre." I said, "Give him a taxi." Anyway, that's completely off the show. Now we're talking about 40 years of printing and slowly evolving, then teaching printing in performance and in Brighton and that's it. Oh yes, sorry, we've been talking about how that continues now. Now it's a problem. I moved, my partner died, and I had to move from London. I just didn't have a place to stay, so I moved to Bath when to my daughters live, and I'm down there 1.5 years, and I'm completely lost because 40 years knowing friends, everything, and it's beautiful plan, and not that. It's every morning is really, really nice. The place when you can easily do screen etching or woodcut, screen printing. Maybe Bristol. so I'm at the moment stuck. I'm sure there will be a good place to do the screen printing.
But you have the books still, or you couldn't take them with you.
No,
they're all full now, right?
They're all basically full, yeah.
Yeah.
No more red books.
So you need to find some new coloured pages.
Probably, absolutely, absolutely. That's what. And it's maybe I will just now continue to just digital print rather than screen printing directly from laptop.
Well, you're now in it.
Damien's corrupted you. You came in here as an analog guy,
and he's leaving
now
as
you're
digital.
digital.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Andre, thank you so much for talking to
so
us.
Nice to be in Portobello, as I said. Goes, yes.
How long is the show on for?
Until 2nd of April.
All right,
so I'll be back and maybe just.
You'll be back.
Maybe even make some workshops. I don't know. I really don't know.
Well,
don't know.
You should definitely. I mean, to me, screen printing is. The reason I mentioned politics, I think, is because it's screen printing.
Well, that's what they did at the Flyers.
I agree. That was that show. You moving from etching to screen printing. It was very much about that. You can also quote.
It's like
you can
Paris
use it.
'68. It's like punk posters.
Absolutely.
It's like
Absolutely. Yeah.
Rave flyers.
Well, if you do a screen printing workshop, I'll be first in the queue.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank
really.
you so much.
Thank
It's
you,
such
Andre.
a joy to be
Cheers.
here. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Andre Bukowski, right here at the Muse till the 2nd of April. And that, funnily enough, is the day after the next art bus. So I hope you'll be on the next art bus, Andre.
Oh, that will be fantastic to be. I might be.
Yeah, great. It's like unclear where we're going, but it's
It'll
a
be
magical
fun anyway.
mystery.
It'll be a trip.
This time a little short to talk. I mean, a talking. I say I can't talk now. Too much of it.
You've done well, man.
Look at the
Thank
picture.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, just look at the pictures. Come by the Muse, check them out.
Hear my voice, hear my dream. Let us make a world in which I believe. Hear my hear my Let us make a world in which we believe, in which we believe. Hear my word, hear my joy.
Yes. Did you just say Fela Kuti? Greg, can we have some volume for the other customers?
Speak. Ah. I know, but we just started talking over her. She was saying, "Hear my voice." So yeah, no.
It's a chat show, mate. Chat show.
I made a mistake and I said 37 minutes instead of 37 seconds, and I said 37 minutes would be long, even by Fela Kuti standards.
Because the reason I was going to pick up on the Fela Kuti is one of the things I watched this week on the telly was the show about the Super Eagles, the Nigerian football team. the Nigerian football team.
All right, that is not something. I've watched many things on Nigeria. I watch Nollywood
it's
stuff
about
all the time.
The incredibly successful Nigerian football team of 1996. They won the Olympic gold, and they Fela Kuti's estate was delighted enough by the show to give them a whole load of songs. Fela Kuti very rarely gives his songs away. We are delighted. We're on sticking on the art theme. We are delighted to have Mark James. Hi, Mark.
Hello there. Hello.
And Sankara.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Mark, last time you were here, we were talking about the lost reggae tapes.
That's right.
We haven't got time to talk about that, so
No.
just Google it, people. The lost reggae tapes.
Studio 17, the lost reggae tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a screening at the Tabernacle,
That's
which is
right.
why I was here talking about that.
And you're back here at the Tabernacle.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it was actually really great to discover the Tabernacle, and I was introduced to the Tabernacle through a friend of mine who is an art dealer, quite a successful art dealer, and I also discovered that they had quite a nice art space there. So we've just joined forces with Stefania Rulfi, who has a gallery called Rulfi Art Gallery, and she's Italian, very vivacious, very energetic woman, and she's opening a gallery here in London, and this is her first show, which is a group show of her London-based artists, because she has a number of artists based here, of which myself and Sam are two.
We have two in the room.
Two in the room. She has another two also here, well, one here based in London called Millie Griffith, and another one, Mario Francesco, who's based in Italy.
Right.
So most of Stefania's work and her shows and so on are in Italy. But
and it's called Light and Colour. I mean, you've given us a quite interestingly shaped flyer, actually. It must be really expensive.
No expense spared.
Both of you have done very big, colourful pieces. Is that your natural disposition, or is it just because it's gloomy and grey out
for
there?
For me, yes, it is. And it was interesting hearing Andreas, because my work is all about digital printing. So the work that I do, basically, I'll work on the computer, I'll sketch and I'll scan in, and then the final pieces are actually printed on an aluminium base, and they're all digital printed. This is the background that I have, and so I want to obviously use what I know, and that's what I've come up with, really. So from the screen printing to the paint and brushwork, it's all digital now.
Yeah, of course.
And what about the? I mean, it's interesting that you're using the digital platform.
Yes.
What about AI art? Because this is the thing that's out there all the time now. And of course, somebody like the AIs are like kind of lapping at your heels, as it were.
From my point of view, I'm a bit different, because I spend a lot of my time in the world of film editing and video editing, which is very heavily technical and computerized. So for me, I actually quite like to be doing the painting without any technology behind it, whereas Sankara has a slightly different. My paintings are all hand painted on canvas with paint.
Old school, as we say.
Old school, yeah.
With
so
paint
what about you,
or
Sankara?
acrylic?
Yeah, I use it. Well, it's acrylic paint. Yeah.
Yeah, because it has that. I mean, there's only a very small picture on the flyer.
Yeah, I mean, for that kind of painting, which is quite large areas of flat colour, which constantly get painted over quite quickly, oil just wouldn't really work, because oil takes days, weeks to dry. Acrylic dries in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So you can
Ask any graffitier.
So you can paint over it quite quickly, whereas oil paint is sort of more of a thing that you blend and push around over a long period of time. Scrape or whatever, yeah. Sankara's process is very different to mine, but...
So, again, for me, I like playing with colours. So I'll take a single, simple black and white drawing, and then from that, I want to see what different colours actually do to it. So emotions, what reflections you get from those changing colours, and then the digital side of it. So I look at doing NFTs, because the work translates itself to animation. So the next phase for me really is to turn those physical pieces into animation, and then to see how the colours change in front of your eyes, and I love it.
So you've really embraced technology, basically.
For me, yes.
You're complete like the antithesis of each other.
Well, actually, having said that, I'm exploring some possibilities with Illustrator, which is a sort of graphic thing. But it's early days. I mean, it's because I spend so much time in front of a computer and with images anyway. For me, I quite like not doing that. Doing something different. So.
I'm interested in saying what you're talking about with the way you approach your art. I mean, we had Dan on a little while ago whose music depends on getting feedback from the audience. And would you ever be interested in taking your blank canvas or your plotted up canvas and letting the audience decide which colour?
Well, do you know, I like that idea. So, with the animations, for example, I don't do them myself, but what I do is I have a group of artists, they're animators, and I say to them, this is it. I've selected a set of 5 colours, but what you do with the animations is up to you.
Right.
Because I like the idea of collaboration. I like to know what other people think and what they take on the work that I present. So actually that sounds interesting. Maybe next time I'll just have the black and white and then see what they're...
So your animation is
Dan's
by
still
colours.
in the studio, as
Absolutely,
is
yes.
Ned
Wow.
Scott from The Egg. Big upturn, Ned.
I'm up for that. That sounds great, actually.
Guys, let's have a tune. Have you got a tune that's got anything to do with NFTs, women?
No, it's just about women.
My songs are my paintings are all named after songs. So
such as?
Well, I'm trying to think of something now. Okay, one is called My Conversation, the great reggae track. One I can't remember who's
Is that on the Studio 17, the Lost Reggae tapes?
It isn't actually.
You should be cross-promoting.
One of the paintings is called Better Must Come.
Okay.
Yeah, Delroy Wilson.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this one is Romain Virgo. I don't know if you know him, but.
And now I'm sending this one across the nation to all my Jamaican women. Hey, dark skin girl, you me a call. Would I love to have you close to me when the rain a fall? Lay you head up on my chest, my black princess. Your smile alone make me know black woman are the best. Hey, chocolate skin, have a heart. You will never diss and you will never turn my back. On my shoulder you can lean. You are my queen. Nothing's a beautiful girl in this world I ever seen. Your love is all I need. Give me your love, my Jamaican queen. Your love is all I need. Oh, nothing else, and nothing else. No, all I wanna do, girl, is be myself. Hey, dark skin girl, you are lead. You alone me want, yes, and you alone me need. Love you just the way you are. You're brighter than a star. Even if I leave you, girl, I would never go far. Hey, African galang galang, girl, you never change. Girl, I see him so you tan. I want to be your man. You one and only one. If I am not for you, tell me where do I belong? Your love is all I need. Give me your love, my Jamaican queen. Your love is all I need. And nothing else, no, nothing else. No, all I wanna do, girl, is be myself. Every time they pass me way, I want to say something, but I don't know what to say. Them got me weak in the knees. Girl, I'm begging, please. I know that you're looking for a man like me. If I don't get you, girl, what will I do? A woman like you can give me love with you. Girl, you know you're blessed with all what you possess. Hardcore love you give and nothing less. Your love is all I need. Give me your love, my Jamaican queen. Your love is all I need. No, nothing else, no, nothing else.
Come on.
It'd be nice to hear my voice. Yes, of course, that was Romain Virgo with Dark Skin Girl. Big up all the melanated, beautiful African queens out there.
Yes, indeed. We're here talking to Mark and San about Light and Colour, an exhibition that's starting next week at the Tabernacle. The private view. Can people who listen to Portobello Radio come to the private view if they say
absolutely.
Portobello Radio out the side?
Absolutely, yeah. If you know the secret password, it's 6:30 to 8:30 next Wednesday, the 15th,
and
at the Tabernacle, yeah. And everyone's welcome. And then it continues actually 10:30 to 8 p.m. right through to the 25th of March. So do pop in. If you
will there be someone from the Roofy Art Gallery there every day?
Stefania will be there.
Which your pictures are.
Yeah,
we'll
be. I'm quite local, so I'll be popping in and out fairly regularly. And
I've got a sleeping bag all set up. I'm good to go.
And the great news is your closing day. There's a word for it. Is it finissage or something? Your finissage.
Stop making up things, Piers.
I've never heard of that word.
Yeah, that's what Boris Johnson does. He makes up Latin words.
It's in italics. The finissage is the same day that we are taking over the Tabernacle, 25th of March.
Oh, great.
So
we
you
can
can
do
tell
a live something.
Yeah.
Great. Well, all my paintings are named after songs as well, so you could do a little
see?
playlist.
Medley.
Collabs. We're at the Muse. We're on Portobello Radio. Collabs everywhere. Thank you guys for coming in. Are there any social media handles you need to give to the peeps?
Yes, you've got what is Stefania's? It's Rolfie Art Gallery.
Rolfie Art Gallery. So Google it, or it's rolfieartgallery.com. Yeah, no, that's. Don't worry. You know what? Rolfie Art Gallery. I think our customers, our listeners, are smart enough to work out how to get hold of them. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. That's great.
You're listening to Portobello Radio. It is local radio for local people, where the truth comes first and the future is unwritten. We're coming live and direct from the Muse Gallery, where Andre. I'm not sure if he's still here. I think he's gone. Andre's fantastic work on these red pads he picked up 40 years ago, did he say?
Yeah, man. Yeah. How
and
fantastic
he's turned them
is
into
it?
a show. So
it's brilliant.
Go out there, find those weird little shops, go in and poke about. You
won't find them in West London, though. You have to go further afield.
You do. You certainly do. No, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I didn't know you could go further afield than West London.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Wow, what a spectacular show. We've had some fun today. We've had right old laughs.
We finally got to the back of what's going on behind the hoardings at Maxilla City. We had the fabulous Zakir and Bashir.
Amazing.
We booked ourselves a takeover under the Westway.
Yeah, man.
In May.
Yes.
We had Monica, who served this ward
this community very well
for 8 years as a counsellor.
And had some very good insights into the position for women, considering we're embracing equity this International Women's Month. Apparently.
Amazing. Brilliant. No, absolutely too right too, and long overdue.
We had Dan Morell from
Chant.
Chant this time. And stories of how you can collaborate with a band. We had Andre Bukowski, who's right here at the Muse with his fabulous
artwork,
sketches in books.
Absolutely, screen prints, whatever.
And we
Wicked.
just talked to Light in Colour coming up next month at the
Tabernacle West.
No, this month.
11. Yeah, this month.
This month.
Yeah, Tabernacle West 11.
Sorry, all I can think about is Cheltenham next
I wanted to get in a quick wagwan because you were doing them before and I was waiting for one.
Yeah.
Very quickly. Britain's Racist History is happening this Thursday, 16th of March, 7 o'clock at the Village, Bay 56, Acklam Village.
Brilliant.
Acklam Road, we know it well. We've got our brother David Denny, who is a reparations activist from Barbados, and he will be joining us. He's also a member of the Caribbean Pan-African Network that I'm a member of. I'm also on the panel, as is Dawn Butler, Glenroy Watson from the RMT, and Wayman Bennett from Stand Up to Racism.
Brilliant.
So,
We've had him on Clash Fans Against the Right.
we'll be talking a lot
superstar.
about reparations, and I'll be doing a talk about the work I've been doing in reparatory justice over the last, nearly 10 years now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you've got some lineup there. You've got some great guests. It's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Especially me.
Talking about this weekend very, very quickly, you're going to be doing...
Just talking about Wayman Bennett,
Oh, yeah,
of course.
right, yeah.
If you want to hear any of our shows, old shows, just go to mixcloud.com/Portobello Radio.
Very good.
The most recent Clash Fans Against the Right, I think, has been number 1 in the politics chart, number 5 or something in the community radio chart.
It were banging.
That's great with Pat Gilbert.
Pat Gilbert was super.
Go down, fantastic music, fantastic chat, fantastic
Absolutely.
everything.
So, Auntie Isis, you're going to be doing Ferferity Radio this Saturday.
I will be on
man.
tomorrow. I will be on Ferferity Radio, usual time 4 to 6. Catch me as the Eclectic Goddess.
Amazing.
My very special guest at 4:30 to 5:30 will be the wonderful Camille Parker, who is a hairstylist, a fashion designer. She's done work with Harper's Bazaar, various other things, but more importantly, she works for the Black Archives in Amsterdam.
Oh,
so she's based in Amsterdam with all those amazing coffee shops all
Brilliant.
around her.
Anything to do with the stuff we did with the Pavilion Hive?
Yeah,
It's exactly. She's one of them, so she'll be joining me.
Find
Yeah.
on our Mixcloud.
There you go.
And I think she might even be on our Spotify platform as well. That
There
one.
you
yeah,
go.
Brilliant,
So
absolutely
if
brilliant.
you want a little break from Portobello Radio, join me tomorrow, 4 till 6.
Yeah, ignore
Meanwhile, this
everything
show-
she's just said.
this show-
No, not at all. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant platform. We
This
love
show is repeated at midday tomorrow. Then
Indeed.
at 2 o'clock, we have Mick Robinson, the
Yes.
patron of Shorts Bar.
Monty
Platters.
Platters.
Followed by 3 o'clock, Charlie Forbes.
Yeah, man.
Everything blues infused.
Yeah, the
At
medicine
4
show.
o'clock, we've got some vintage DBC Rankin Miss P.
Yay, that's going to be bro. Absolutely bro.
And you'll be able to buy DBC t-shirts. 5 o'clock,
As always.
Liam Tuke, the original Soul Boy.
Yeah,
6 o'clock, Minna has just told us
Brilliant.
that she can't make it.
Oh,
so
nut flaps. Okay.
there'll be someone else
All
in
right,
there. At
yeah.
7 o'clock, we've got
We'll
Jez
deal with that.
Harkin.
Jez
in
Harkin, all the way from the
from
United States. We love that geezer. Absolutely superb. The flyer you sent me earlier on had a few of extra shows on it. That was the yesterday flyer.
No, you haven't been watching. Don't worry about that. The
No,
other big
okay,
news
brill,
is
brill.
next week, not only is it Cheltenham, but on the 14th at 7 p.m. we will be remembering for 72 seconds of silence those we lost at Grenfell, because it's the 14th of March.
So that'll be Tuesday.
Which will be, let me do the math, I think that's 69 months since the original fire.
Wow, did you just do that in your brain?
3 months
God.
off 7 years, basically.
So clever. Yeah. And nothing.
7 years.
No one's
It's
been
off 6
arrested.
years.
6 years, sorry, 6 years.
No one's been arrested. Hey, bro, absolutely, bro. Keep
And
it locked.
on Thursday
Oh,
next week, we have the St Patrick's Day edition of Bright Side of the Road from the Irish Cultural
that is
Centre,
gonna be smashing.
Hammersmith. We're also going to be celebrating St Patrick's Day on the 17th here with Roz and Shay. We also have Sukai Eccleston, who is the fabulous gallerista online.
Just be nice to snakes, people. Just be nice to snakes.
Yes, indeed, because
Well,
they
we
could be they could be pagans, as
Funnily
we discussed
enough,
last week.
if
yeah,
you
man.
cared to tune into the last edition of Bright Side of the Road, we discuss St Patrick and the snakes, and
We
it
do.
turns out that geological evidence proves there weren't any there in the first place.
Exactly, so be nice to the snakes, because we're not sure who they
You're
really
listening
were.
to Portobello Radio.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. What have we got going
Keep it
on
locked.
Talk Radio Sunday morning? Very, very quickly before
I
we say
don't know,
goodbye.
that's why I haven't.
That's why you haven't
gone
said
on about
anything.
it.
Isn't it great? I love this show. Might even get the art bus that we did a couple of weeks ago up and running.
No, we won't.
No, we won't. Yeah, I know you lost faith in that. Anyway, listen, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, everybody out there in Radio Land, thank you so much for listening, for tuning in, keeping it locked to www.portobelloradio.com. We'll look forward to catching up with you guys live. When's the next live thing? man?
25th of
Oh,
March,
yeah.
followed by the bus
Yeah.
on the 1st of April.
Absolutely.
April Fool's bus in the house.
Loads more shows on Portobello Radio prior to that. We've got a Dick O'Dell coming up, etc., etc. So it's going to be rocking good fun. I can't, him doing some kind of suicide thing in front of me. I'm not too sure what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's what the terrorists do.
Yeah. Probably. Is he the fourth Beatle?
Maybe.
Who
knows?
Brilliant. We're going to have to ring up the CIA and ask.
Definitely.
Superb. Guys and girls, take care. Have a wicked weekend. Lots of love. And we'll catch up with you on the other side. Pet Shop Boys, I guess we're going to run out with this one. Come on.
You got a heart of glass or a heart of stone. Just you wait till I get you home. You've got no future, you've got no past. here today, built to last in every city and every nation, from Lake Geneva to the Finland station.